All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most expensive puzzles in business right now. Companies are pouring billions into AI, but for some reason, it's just not working. So, what's really going on here? Let's dive in.
Okay, get this. The number we're talking about is $40 billion. That's what enterprises are estimated to have invested in AI. For that kind of money, you would expect a productivity revolution, right? Well, that's not what's happening, not even close.
The reality is actually pretty shocking. A staggering 95% of all generative AI pilot programs have failed to produce any real, tangible business impact. All that cash, all that hype, for what exactly? What is everyone getting so wrong?
Well, we've stumbled into what some analysts are calling the Slopocene era. It's this idea that instead of speeding things up, the flood of unreliable, uncoordinated AI outputs is creating a kind of digital sludge. It's actually gotten so bad that it's slowed down human developers by 19% because they're spending all their time cleaning up AI's mess.
And this is the absolute key to understanding the whole problem. The technology works. The AI models are fine. The failure isn't technical, it's human. It's a fundamental disconnect between the vision at the top and the reality for the people on the ground.
So this is the heart of the Slopocene paradox. Let's really dig into why these huge investments are hitting a brick wall and what's actually happening inside these companies.
So you've got executives chasing every shiny new AI tool, but down on the ground floor, employees just see a threat to their job. And so they engage in what this analysis calls rational sabotage. I mean, can you blame them? It's like being a turkey who just got an invitation to your own professional Thanksgiving dinner. You know this isn't going to end well for you. And this disconnect, it's not just a bad vibe in the office. No, it's a systemic issue that really boils down to three critical failures in how companies are trying to roll out AI. First, you get an adoption vacuum. Employees are secretly using AI to make their lives easier, but they don't tell anyone, so the company doesn't see the benefit. Second, companies offer these tepid solutions, like an optional training webinar that no one takes seriously. And what's the result of these two things? A morale death spiral, where your best people just start heading for the exit. And that right there, that is the biggest risk of all. When you tell your team that AI is here to replace them, your most talented, most adaptable people, the ones who could become true human AI partners, or centaurs, they're the first ones out the door. They'll go find a competitor who promises to elevate their skills, not just automate their job away. So, it all comes down to this one fundamental strategic choice. Is your goal automation, which is simply about replacing people, or is it orchestration, which is about using AI to elevate your entire workforce? Trust me, the answer to that question changes everything. Okay, so if automation is the problem, what's the solution? This is where we pivot. It's called the Centaur strategy, and it's a completely different way of thinking. It's about turning AI from a tool that replaces into a teammate that elevates. The Centaur strategy is really a blueprint for making AI proficiency a core, non-negotiable part of your company culture. It's not about headcount reduction, it's about creating a whole new class of employee who can partner with AI to do things that were frankly impossible before. But, that sounds great in theory, right? How do you actually make it happen? Well, the strategy lays out this really clever and practical framework it calls the carrot, stick, and token. It's a mix of incentives, accountability, and tracking designed to drive real change. So here's how it works. The token is basically a productivity index that tracks AI usage so you can actually see what's going on. The carrot is an efficiency dividend. You pay people a bonus for successfully automating parts of their own jobs. And the stick? You launch business process bounties to kill old workflows, and you create a reverse mentoring network where the junior employees teach the senior leaders. Now, I want to pause on this business process bounties idea for a second, because it is absolutely brilliant. You are literally gamifying the destruction of old, inefficient processes. You're offering cash rewards to teams that use AI to get rid of bureaucracy. In one move, you completely flip the culture from AI is here to take my job to AI is how I get a bonus and become a hero. But incentives alone aren't enough. You have to give people a clear, compelling vision for their own future. You have to design the happy ending, showing them exactly how they're going to evolve from being a doer of tasks to a director of systems. Just look at this evolution.
A software developer stops writing boring code and becomes a systems architect who manages a fleet of AI agents. A customer support agent stops just closing tickets and becomes an experienced designer, engineering the whole customer journey. You see the shift? You're not being replaced. You're being promoted above the work. So the crucial insight here is that AI becomes the new floor for what's possible, not the ceiling. By taking over the grunt work, it's essentially giving every employee a 20-hour-a-week creativity grant to focus on strategy and the work that really moves the needle.
And think about it. As AI makes basic intelligence cheap, almost a commodity, what becomes incredibly valuable? The skills that are uniquely human. We're talking about empathy, ethical judgment, complex negotiation, pure intuition. These become the new premium skills in the marketplace.
So, where do you even begin? This is not something you can just flip a switch on overnight. The strategy lays out a very clear 90-day mission for a planned, intentional evolution. Here's the roadmap. In the first 30 days, it's all about radical transparency. You get out there and you are crystal clear that this is a growth-first AI policy. The next 30 days, you make the incentive pivot. You launch the bounties, you start tracking the metrics. And in the final 30 days, you make the structural shift, formalizing these new career paths and job titles. Ultimately, leaders are facing what's being called the architect's choice. You can let AI roll in like a tsunami, destroying morale and all your institutional knowledge. Or you can choose to be the architect and design it to be a rising tide that lifts your entire workforce to a higher level. Look, this future is coming whether we're ready or not. It has to be built with people, not against them. So the only question that's left is, will you be the architect?